Welcome to episode 164 of the About the Cards podcast, live tonight on YouTube. As always, with hosts Stefan Loeffler at Junk Wax Twins.
Oh, hi.
Myself, Ben Wilson, at Our Trading Cards, and co-produced by Tim Shepler at Big Shep 79. We are a podcast by collectors for collectors, and we hope to bring you a smart and insightful podcast discussing trading card collecting. We are live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific.
10 Central.
On YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitch. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at About the Cards. We are available as a podcast everywhere you can find a podcast. Check out our website, aboutthecards.wordpress.com. After a lot of negotiation and back and forth, it's been months and months and months. We are here to welcome a special guest, the man, the myth, the Dr. James Beckett. He is the hobbies version of Frank Morgan, the man behind the curtain. Welcome, Dr. James.
The original Wizard of Oz, who really was not a wizard. And I'm
correct.
not a wizard either, but no, I think the Wizard of Oz had a mystique. I probably have a little mystique, but in one sense, though, but I'm a person. You know, people think, was there really a person, or was it his father or something? No, I was really blessed to be in the right place, the right time, with a good skill set, assembled a fabulous team, and you know, it's been a great ride.
That's awesome. That actually leads right into my first question. Your name precedes you, as well as it's synonymous with the hobby's pricing model, both current and historically. And then, of course, all of the journalistic contributions from yourself and all of, Uncle Rich Klein, all of the great individuals you've had throughout the years. You are on our Mount Rushmore of content creators, the godfather of certain aspects of this hobby in so many ways. So can you give us a brief background on yourself and how the Beckett Price Guide came to be?
All the Mount Rushmore guys are all dead. So that's not, I don't really want to be there just yet.
Living legend. No,
I'm not done. But I got started as a kid, like most people, and my dad had collected, which I think was really fundamental to me realizing that there are other cards out there besides just the Topps cards that everybody in the neighborhood collected. Although there were some Fleer cards around back in my neighborhood as well, a little bit of non-sports. I remember seeing cards, but when I saw that my dad had these Goudeys and play balls, I thought, these are different size. They're works of art. It's Americana. So it kind of gave legs to my collecting. And when I was in grad school, I wouldn't say I was a dealer as much as I sold cards. I bought and sold cards, did the first convention, helped organize the first convention and the first collectors club. And so then I was just off to the races. Then I started doing price surveys, price guide books, magazines, and it just unfolded in a really wonderful way. And as the hobby grew right along with it. Thanks for asking, man.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. By the time I came around, which would have been in 1987, I mean, your name, again, like I said, was synonymous. You would go, little 8-year-old me goes in there. The first thing, LCS, first thing you do, I need the most recent Beckett. I didn't know there was a man behind it. I didn't know at that time, being so young. But I think every junk wax era collector, your name was, you had Topps, you had Beckett. It was all one and the same.
So now I'm on the Mount Rushmore junk wax edition.
That's fair.
So you grew up in
crumbling.
You predate internet.
I predated. So, no, what people don't realize is that when I did the first book, I already was pretty well known in the industry. So it wasn't like I just popped up and said, "Hey, I'm going to do this." I mean, I was already a pretty well established national dealer with great relationships with the key dealers of the day. I was way smaller in those days, so you could kind of know everybody. And so, I mean, it was the culmination of many years of studying that it came out, and I had credibility because the other people in the industry said, "Yeah, we've seen him around. We've talked to him. He knows what he's talking about. We've given him input. He's been honest about it, hardworking, and we like what he's doing." So otherwise, I don't know. You just can't pop up and say, hey, here's a price guide. What do you think?
Which is funny because I'm sure you're well aware of all of the grading companies that are now coming out of the woodworks. And, the first thing you have to have is credibility. You have to have transparency. Your reputation is literally all you have. And these companies are just pop, 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 pop. And, we got a question about it today. One of our friends and listeners is like, what about the grading company CAS? And are they legit? And there's just so many 3-letter companies right now that are grading. And like you said, you walked into the price guide already having so much of that established, and people knew you, at least the people that really probably mattered at that time knew who you were, or at least aware of your reputation. And that is a major assist.
Well, let me turn the tables on you guys, because you guys are really good thinkers. And so obviously the ideal situation when you're starting something is have a great reputation. And I worked hard to have that. I think I did have that. But what's next best? Is it better to have no reputation or a well-established bad reputation? Everybody recognizes your name. They'll love them or hate them. I mean, there are people in the industry that had detractors, but had a name that people immediately, and I'm not going to mention any names, but people would recognize the name. If that person came out with a grading company, they'd get attention, and even negative attention sometimes is better than no attention because nobody's heard of you. What do y'all think about that?
Well, so it's definitely an interesting question. Kind of like who would you prefer, a quiet wide receiver or a Ocho Cinco Randy Moss type? Personally, Vikings fan, Randy Moss. But as far as reputation wise, I would definitely think that anybody starting out is on better footing than somebody who's well known and ill regarded. Then because you can always prove yourself to be well regarded.
In your wide receiver example, basically the performance will Randy always found a home. He was a special case, and he could up till the end. He could really. He was an amazing receiver.
When he chose to play.
See, I would actually.
But I'm just saying. So he was worth the hit. And so if somebody came along that had a checkered reputation, that people would say, I don't know about this, but if they could really come through and they were doing a great job, people would say, okay, like Randy, he came to play this time.
I would actually argue the other side, that a poor reputation is still a reputation. More people listen to Howard Stern that don't like him than listen that do enjoy his content. And you can, even though like a credit score, it takes years to repair, you can repair a bad reputation with good service, and you can turn that around over time. But the thing is, your name will bring in a built-in consumer base, and that right off the bat, I already have a revenue stream.
Curiosity, right? Sure,
that's right.
Yeah, it's difficult to say. There's no right or wrong. There are people out there that would say, if I did something hobby related on a bigger scale, half of Twitter has me blocked. So there's the negativity. So. As a young boy in Ohio, what set or series really gave you your first interest? Oh my gosh, I got to start collecting.
Well, that was a problem, Ben. I mean, I lived in 18 houses in 18 years, so I mean, we were moving around. That. And so when you're moving around a lot, you're in a different neighborhood almost every year, and so you're making new friends. But Topps cards were pretty omnipresent. In 61, they had the basketball, and in the late 50s, the TV Westerns, and I never saw the basketball cards, but the Fleer all-time greats in 60 and 61, I saw those. So we would move, and it wasn't always far away, but the cards were always part of the culture in those days, of the neighborhood, of the guys that liked sports, that played Sandlot, baseball, basketball, football, whatever. We didn't play hockey because I didn't really live in those areas, but it was great. And so it was a great socialization that I brought my cards with me and, traded, and, the new cards would come out, and we all followed the sports. So it was great. So that was my experience. So I'd only lived in Ohio for those 6 months. I definitely wasn't a collector I couldn't walk, talk, or do anything. But a lot of those years, guys, were in the Pittsburgh area. And so that's
Gotcha.
why I loved Clemente and really thought the Pirates were an amazing team back when they could compete with the big market teams. And, then they had,
Ohio's one of those oddball states because you have the Indians up north, you got the Reds down south, you have your St. Louis lovers, you have your Pirates lovers, and then of course you got your Cubbies, and then your obvious big market New York and Boston, kind of, but not as much. But
well, I mean, that's one of the reasons when I did move back to Ohio when I was at Bowling Green State University, which is up there in the northwest corner of Ohio. So I was close to Detroit, Detroit, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Chicago, Indianapolis. All those big shows were driving distance, and it really helped in those first years of the Price Guide to be able to be in person and driving distance to the major regional shows, and to go to New York sometimes too. I did those shows, but
as a follow-up, are you going to miss the National in Cleveland since the building doesn't exist anymore?
Well, I thought that that building was indestructible.
I know, right? Well, it's still there. It's just not owned by anybody.
It must just have too much upkeep and it's owned by the city, and they just don't want to do it. But it was a very unique situation, and I'll miss it sentimentally and location-wise. And Cleveland has certainly great vintage collecting base, but it is what it is. I'll be in Atlantic City. I'm hoping it builds on the success of this year.
I would have to say if anybody is an authority on this topic coming up, it has to be you, and it might start with you. I get into this conversation every day, it seems, on Twitter or Facebook or just in private. What are your thoughts on eBay's sold listings being used as comps versus a print price guide or other online resources such as Beckett?
My position is it shouldn't be an either or. I think the more expensive the card, the more the deeper you should dig for your level of comps, the timing of the comps, where they are, and who, if you even know that. I mean, and what auction. Some auction houses are getting to be known for being able to get above market.
Sure.
And there's certain services that will grade the graders where a strong 9 goes for way more than a weak 9. And when somebody says that, and so then, the comps seemingly have to reflect, some of those things. So it's gotten more complicated. The higher the price of the card, the more you need to dig deeper and probably do your own research and frankly, Ben, do all the above. All the above.
No, I agree. And I talk about comps not being linear. A plus B doesn't always equal C. If you and I are fighting over the same Clemente rookie card and you beat me, the next one to market can't use that as just the only comp. Why? Because you're no longer in the market for it, presumably. And now I become the market. Is there a third party that's also fighting me for that? And so it's not the known variables, it's the unknown variables that you can't quantify and account for that complicates the whole comp process start to finish.
Until the last 18 months, it seemed like cash was king. But when we got into a situation with COVID where things were going up every month, where the comps were outdated because things were going up every month, then it was better to have the card than to have the cash, because the card was going to go up in value. The cash is actually losing value, I think, as we speak, guys. Not to make a political statement. But,
sure.
So all that stuff you're talking about, Ben, I agree, but the control is with the person right now that has the card, and that person can say, I don't care what you're saying about comps. I'm valuing it here. And whether you're going to pay 10% less or 10% more, it's my card. Make me an offer. At least if it's face to face.
And I always tell folks all the time that the seller dictates the sales price, but the fluid market dictates the sell, the sale price. You can ask whatever you want for it, but at the end of the day, if you plan to sell it, the market, that fluid market within the snapshot of time you're selling it within, is ultimately going to dictate what it's going to sell for.
Well, the market really ought to be what a willing and knowledgeable seller will sell for and what a willing and knowledgeable buyer will pay when they meet. But if one of them is unwilling, playing hardball, or one of them is not knowledgeable, then there's a mismatch and you can have some pricing anomalies. But that's the reason starting the magazines and the books. I mean, if people are on the same page, it facilitates fair trade, where both parties could get a good deal.
I mean, in 2010, I valued my 2000 Dodge Neon that had 200,000 miles at 30 grand, but I mean, I took 1,000.
It depending on the day will determine how I value Steph's friendship and vice versa. I mean, we get along every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific, at least for 2 hours.
Central.
Central. Yeah. Okay.
You bring up a good segue into the next point was, back in the 80s, the junk wax era, pre-internet, how challenging was it for you and your team at Beckett to put together the price guide? Because again, you're pulling real-time resources, and how did you compile that sold data to print in next month's Beckett?
There's two kinds of compilations that you're talking about. One is compiling the raw data, and then the other is kind of synthesizing that data to come up with a price. And I think probably in those days, the first part was harder than the second part, Ben, because the raw data did not just jump out at you. In the pre-eBay days, we had guys going to the West Coast, the East Coast, the Midwest, and gathering. We had people on the phone talking to dealers. There weren't as many cards. And certainly once the magazines got rolling and had pretty broad acceptance, you were looking at kind of a differential from what what it was selling above the book or below, and so there was a reference point there. The very first one, that was a big accomplishment to get prices when there's nothing there. Although there wasn't really nothing, there were some kind of known what cards were selling for, but the first book and the first magazine that really set the baseline, those were major contributions to the health of the hobby. And after that, it was still hard, but it was not as hard to just see. It was like you're looking for arrows up, and you're asking the dealers what went up, what are you selling for more, and we were the only ones, I think, that really tried to verify that it wasn't just somebody's opinion, but we observed at the show, or we had dealers that we built a level of trust because we had verified a lot of what they had said over the years.
And when you have a semi-encyclopedia of pricing that goes decades long with all of the major releases, kudos to you guys, because the biggest thing too is you're putting together a national, if not international, price guide at that time that everybody is going to rely on, and the socioeconomics are different from city to city, let alone state to state, and the value of the dollar, to say a card is worth $5 doesn't mean the same in California as it might have in the Midwest back then. Even now, when people, gas is only X in Iowa and it's Y in California, it's like, yeah, but minimum wage is considerably different between these states as well, and the cost of living thereof. And I can imagine, as somebody who loves numbers, it just is a headache even thinking about where you guys must have had to start.
Well, no, that was part of the kind of finalizing, because there were regional premiums and differences that were much greater back in the day than they are now. It's more global now, but there's not a universal currency, but it's just there are less regional premiums when people can get anything anywhere and have it shipped to them. ComC, for example, they don't have one price for East Coast and one. It's just the price is the price, and so that's made it easier. But back in the '80s, it sure wasn't like that. You'd see different pricing structure in New York than you would in California or in the Midwest. And we tried to, that's one of the reasons we had a price range to kind of allow that there wasn't just one national price for everything.
Well, I mean, scarcity across the United States used to be quite a bit different when you talk about different brands and such, that certain cards made certain areas and certain cards didn't. So of course they're gonna command a higher price in the areas they didn't make it to. So
Dandy versus Mother's Cookies versus what have you.
But and that's why it was called the Beckett Price Guide, not the Beckett Price Bible, or another substitute for a word that was the definitive. It was just a guide. You know, you guys suggested collectively that a certain card was worth a range, and that could differ from region to region. Again, dealer to dealer, the desperation of a dealer, the desperation of a buyer. I have to have this card. I need to offload this card. There's so many variables that were, to this day, individualistic to the respective buyers and sellers. And, you know, an amazing accomplishment of what you guys were able to put together, considering the lack of technology you had that in hindsight we now have. You know, it's, I could sit up tonight and comp any given card if you gave me a homework exercise, because I have all of these resources at my fingertips. We all do, and we can all verify it. And just an incredible accomplishment to be able to pull off what you guys did for so long consistently. Even if by today's standards, it might be, you know, the printed price guide might be outdated.
Well, it was hard then. It's hard now. You know, you can look up anything you want to look up in, but if you want to just try to look up a page worth of the 52 tops, you know, it takes a while if you're looking up card by card. But I want to quibble with one word. Is that you're saying we were establishing the value. That's one way to think of it. But basically, we weren't trying to say this is what the card is worth. This is what the card was selling for during the period observed. Because there's so many cards that I put, you know, that I finalized the price for. I didn't think the card was worth that. Some case I thought it was worth a lot more. Some things I thought it was worth a lot less. But the activity over that past month or that past year put that card in that range. And, you know, I just had to trust that these pricing anomalies that were obvious to me and obvious to other people that were really into it would work themselves out. If something was underpriced, because that's the actual reporting we got, or overpriced, in my opinion, it was the price of what they were selling for. And that was awkward. People say, well, you know, as soon as if I would have tried, it would have taken a lot longer to do a price. Actually, people think it would take shorter, but actually take longer to do a price guide of what I think cards should be worth.
Yeah.
It was actually easier to say, hey, guys, this is what they're selling for. You know,
which it should be, right?
And wrongly in some cases. But so I wouldn't say that was the value, but people treated it that way. You're correct, and they thought, well, that must be what it's worth. But that was what it sold for during that month, and the next month, if it went up, then it would have an arrow. So people weren't just using the prices blindly or with a deterministic fixed price. They said, well, that's what it is this month. This guy's had a good month. I'm going to try to get a little bit more. And if they were successful in getting more, then the price went up. So, yeah.
It's a good reflection on economic markets as a whole. And markets have a tendency to work themselves out and rest and come to a conclusion where they appropriately should be over time, not necessarily in a snapshot. As we see,
not short term. In fact,
it's very volatile.
At the hobby, the volatility is advantage to those who are knowledgeable. And I regard knowledge, Ben, as not the ability to look something up. It's the understanding of, you know, not just where to look, but kind of having a pretty good idea of what you're going to find when you look it up. That you have some insights, not just here's what it says and I've got to go by that only. How to interpret data. Okay.
You know, I say numbers always lie, and numbers are static. 1 + 1 always equals 2, but it's how we individualize and how we interpret that number and how we get there. And again, like you were saying, is, you know, it's not what knowledge you have. It's how you identify it. It's how you interpret it. It's how you execute it. And it's multi-layered, and these have to work simultaneously and fluidly, especially in a hobby like this, where tonight I go to bed and tomorrow morning I've sold 4 cards of Dave Smith. Why? Well, he did something last night, and the hobby is going to react to it. Long term, it'll settle right where it should be. But yeah, it is an amazing accomplishment of what your team and yourself was able to do during that period. And yeah, are sellers in today's hobby too reliant on comps?
Not for the more expensive cards. I mean, anybody that's selling an expensive card needs to do all the homework they can. But if you've got to do a comp for a $2 card, that's a problem. You got to know what card is worth checking comps for. If it's a $2.50 card and you're scrambling to figure.
I think we've all felt the pain of being at that booth and having a stack of cards like that thick, and you see the dealer go for the big blue book, and you're like, I made a mistake.
Before we move on, we had a question in the YouTube chat from Vintage Oddball Cards in relation to what we just spoke about. How often did dealers come up to you in person claiming that the prices in your price guide were too low or too high? Or
in the last 16 and a half years, it hadn't happened very much at all. I've been retired, but before that, one of the interesting things, Ben, it wasn't as much as you would think, but what would please me, again, like we said about bad reputation versus no reputation. If nobody cared at all, that'd be bad.
Right.
So given that people are going to care, and some people are going to care deeply, our hope was that there was some evening out of the criticism of, one guy coming up and saying, yeah, you're way too high. And then the next guy, well, you're way too low. And I said, why don't you two guys talk to each other?
Split the difference.
But so if the criticism's evened out, but again, if we were perfect, we wouldn't have done it different. The next month, we'd have said, hey, the prices are still the same. No, we were getting feedback, and we welcomed the feedback because it was a moving target.
Now, we've referenced, I think the word junk as part of Junk Wax era is considered dirty. These cards have a lot of value. They have worth, monetary worth, maybe not as much as once they had, but there's a lot of value. Obviously, I super collect a specific Junk Wax era card. It means the world to me as a collector.
Is wrong.
Junk Wax era was oversaturated, and the plethora of cards that they made, and there's a lot of variables and reasons for that. In your experience and your educated estimation, are we currently in a Junk Wax era 2.0 of sorts?
I would say no, Ben. I mean, it's completely different. It's the danger signs that I would see if too much of the current wax, if you were just talking about wax, and really there's been a resurgence of junk, quote unquote, wax. Junk cards, common cards from the late 80s, very early 90s are still junk. But unopened product from the late 80s, early 90s has some cachet even. Those prices they're now saleable. Now, I don't know why somebody'd want to grade them, but that's their prerogative, and they get them back in a year maybe. So junk wax, if you take away wax, just say there were some junk cards that were overproduced, the overproduced era of that period, where even the big stars are not in. There's more supply than the demand can handle almost at any price. Okay, we're not having that, I don't think, just yet. But the danger sign, like I said, would be if cases are being put back and not opened for some future huge payday. Like I said, if 10% of the current product that's produced is held back, that'd be a lot. And if it's less than that, I'm okay. But I think in the late 80s, early 90s, there may have been 50% of the cases being sitting in garages. And then when it just takes a few people to say, hey, I'm going to sell my cases now because my kid's going to go to college, and then they found out these cases they're getting pennies on the dollar for what they put in, or cents on the dollar.
Sure.
And so that would be the problem if there's too much hoarding or setting back of that, because these so
I think we're
that's one danger
definitely-
sign. The other danger sign is if the common cards that are in the current sets, the less than the big stars, if they are held in low esteem to where nobody cares and they're not saleable at any price, that would be another danger sign. That you open up a high-end product, and if you don't get something that's low numbered, game used, autographed, RPA, that it's junk in the sense that you're not even going to bother to sell it and nobody wants it. That would be another danger sign. I'm a believer in the long tail. If the long tail is successful and the supply-demand equilibrium is maintained, we're going to have a nice long ride for this hobby.
And that was my next question is, obviously with my economic background, I see it as a junk wax era 2.0 on steroids, just because of the oversaturation and all of the on-demand and countless parallels thereof, and billions of cards that are going to be produced each and every year when we count all of the base across all sports. I believe we do have an elevated and artificial market. Do you think that this current market, regardless of opinion on where we're at, do you think what we're seeing right now is sustainable over, say, the next 3 to 5 years, where if we were speed up, we're still in a similar market as we find ourselves in now?
Well, Ben, I'm not going to fully agree with you, but I understand your economic educational pedigree. But I do think that what we're in a situation was, and this is not a multi-level marketing thing, but anytime you have more people coming in other words, supply is actually increasing over these years. They're increasing the supply, but the demand, or at least the amount of new entrants into the space, is greater in the last 18 months than it's been at any period in my lifetime in the hobby. And so even if what you're saying is true, it's really being masked by this great influx of half the people in National coming their first National. So the danger sign, again, is if that growth, that dynamism in the hobby, if it slows down or stops, then you have the potential for a problem, that you have the supply-demand equilibrium can be broken, because they're putting out more cards because we have more collectors. That's what they're going to say. And they're selling. They're not going unsold. In fact, people are still looking for them. But when everything needs to be able to find its way to an end user, and that's not what was happening 30 years ago.
No,
35 years ago.
This is an economic bubble. And we've seen since 2017 a right-sided trajectory with very few dips, and it was escalated considerably around March, April of last year as COVID hit. At some point, the sustainability, the external interest of fringe money or temporary money will start to wane, and people will go back to normalcy, so to speak, for lack of a better descriptive word, in my opinion.
Things. One is that I don't like bubble, because almost all bubbles pop. All balloons do not necessarily pop. Balloons can have the air let out of them. And then basically there's two ways the economy can grow, and two ways businesses can grow, and that's to get more customers or to get more money from the customers that you have. What's happening right now is both of those. There are more people coming in, and the people that are already in are spending more money because they have an optimism. Again, if the optimism reversed, people say, gee, I don't know about this, and individuals are spending less, and you had less new entrants, then prices are going to plateau and perhaps even recede. But at the core of it, there's a really fun hobby, and so that's what I'm banking on.
No, absolutely, and I love the respect between you and I, that we're not quite seeing everything eye to eye, and there's plenty of room for both of us to simultaneously be right. And if I had this conversation more often with people on Twitter, I'd be blocked a hell of a lot less, But where do you see the hobby in 5 years? If the year is 2026 right now, are we still living rich on this, or do you think it'll subside? Do you think it'll be healthier than where we see it right now?
Well, the way I've answered this, I've been asked this before, and I think it's aspirational, Ben. I think we all should have a desire that the hobby would grow. Now, it can't double every year for 5 years, but if it has some, and I don't want it to have boring growth, but if it has some growth for the next 5 years, that's where they're building the foundation as they go, and the new collectors are being integrated in. They're not fly-by-nights. They're not coming and leaving, but they're coming and bringing their friends and staying. That's how it could work. So that's what I'm aspiring to, and I'm going to work toward with my podcast. I want to help people to not get burned, to be able to have a long-term view. And you guys are doing that too. Your podcast is a lot of fun, and it's by collectors for collectors kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if collectors hang in there, I mean, the headlines are taken up by all these world record prices, but the real meat of the hobby is not that. That's a few individuals that are bidding against each other to make the headlines because they have lots of extra money. But what at the national, 99% of the sales are not things that the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times is interested in. They're people, buying cards that they like that are $100 and less, not $100,000 or more.
Sure. Now, I've got one more kind of tough question for you, and then I want to lighten it up a little bit and have a little bit of fun. Elephant in the room, we'd be remiss if we had you on and didn't ask about yesterday's bombshell. If you don't want to answer or have any thoughts on it that you want to share publicly, you're welcome to decline. But what are your thoughts on what happened with eBay versus PWCC?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of people are commenting about that. So let me tell you two things that I don't know that I've seen commented on. One is I think there's more to the story. I think eBay has something they're not disclosing.
Sure,
and
probably for legal purposes.
Fair once you get to they have something, and so one of my pet peeves is when two parties talk at each other and not with each other. I think you and I are trying to talk with each other because we're not 100% agreeing, but we're not trying to figure out, well, hey, he's totally wrong or I'm totally right. No, we each have some points. So eBay has some points, but they're holding them close to their vest. And then when PWCC comes out, they are trying to put their best foot forward. And unfortunately, they've chosen in their response to give a definition of shill bidding, which is extremely narrow.
Sure.
And according to that definition, I think they can be righteously indignant that they're not doing that. Okay? But that's not what most people think shill bidding is. And so that's where it's going to, so they're posturing, eBay's posturing. It's probably going to blow over to the effect that PWCC is going to build, continue to build their own platform. They're a behemoth, but they built a lot of their business on eBay. And if they get off the eBay platform, how are they different from some of these other auction houses that are already pretty established?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think they have some economies of scale that are assisted by all the stuff they're doing with eBay that are not necessarily the glamour cards, the $25,000 and up. So I think, I don't want to predict or prophesy how it's going to end up, other than I think PWCC is going to go their own way. I don't know that it's going to be reconciled, and we'll see. But like I say, shill bidding is not just bidding on something that you don't intend to win.
No.
Absolutely, and we can save that for another day because I'm sure that's a much deeper conversation. And one point you brought up about us talking with each other. One thing that your good friend Rich Klein and I have done for a long time is, even though he and I rarely see eye to eye on things, we never tell one another that the other is wrong, because more often than not, it's an opinion-based conversation where we're both simultaneously speaking our own truths, and there is no right or wrong. And I think that level of respect is needed more just in general conversations, that at the end of the day, if you're a fan of the Yankees and I'm a fan of the Red Sox, we can talk about our franchises until we're blue in the face, but neither of us are going to change loyalties. And I think that can be done in sports. It should be able to be done in politics and religion, and, you know, whether or not you believe that you know, ketchup or mustard go on a hot dog. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer.
Neither.
Say, Steph, you're wrong, buddy. So, Dr. Jim, you run a successful podcast. Tell us how your podcast came about and any insights you have running one for those perhaps looking to start one of their own.
Well, this is not about your podcast or any other podcast, but when I was thinking about doing this, you know, I talked to some guys in the area. At a couple of my dinners, I brought that up, you know, before I'd even done it. And I looked at the other podcasts out there, and I thought there's some really great stuff out there, but nobody was doing exactly what I wanted to do. And I thought, I can't really delegate it. I don't need to hire somebody to do it. I need to tell some stories, interview some people. It's going to be something I'm going to enjoy. But you guys are amazing. You know, to do a 2-hour show, that's not me. Okay. So I'm 15 minutes and, but I'm going to try to do it every day, or, you know, twice on Saturdays and Monday through Friday. So I'm trying to get a format that works for me. It's audio only. It's more bite-sized chunks. But I've tried to configure it in a way that I would enjoy it. And if I enjoy it, just like you guys, if you enjoy it, you're going to do it. You're going to put some energy and fun into it. And, you know, so it's been great. So it's been 2 years now of doing these daily episodes and max, you know, never more than 15 minutes now. And that actually gives me a freedom to make sure I'm not going overboard. If people want more on something, I can do more on something. I come back to it or do a part 2 or something. So I've been having a good time, but it wasn't because I thought there were bad podcasts out there. They're all good podcasts, and even more now competing. And they're not really competing against y'all or against me. They're finding their voice, and they're doing the stuff they want to do. Well, when you put it all together, it adds to the hobby.
The one thing I will say that you can offer that none of the rest of us can is you do a lot of episodes with our dear friend, previously mentioned, Rich Klein. And the two of you, one regret I have, my grandfather worked on the railroads back in the 30s and the 40s. And one regret I have is I didn't get a lot of those stories on tape. The amount of knowledge that the two of you gentlemen share, not just between one another, but now on tape. I was listening to the one about Topps Big this morning on the way to work, and the insight you both of you shared with what happened in 88 through 90. Topps Big Shep and I go back and forth. He can't stand it due to the size. For me, it's glorious. It's beautiful. It was colorful. It was unlike anything we had ever seen at my age group. Obviously, you guys, you know, the older gentlemen and ladies in the hobby had seen 55 and 56. You know, the horizontal cards. I hadn't seen that up close and personal. And now it's McGuire and Canseco and Parker and Stewart and Eckersley and Lansford. And it's like, oh my, you want to talk about Wizard of Oz? It was just magnificent. And to our listeners, if anybody's out there and you haven't checked out Sports Card Insights, if you do nothing else besides just listen to the episodes between Jim and Rich, because when they talk about specific, 74, 75 Topps is what I'm going to listen to tomorrow morning. I haven't listened to that one yet. It's just, the more of those are phenomenal because you have specific insight as hobby experts and longtime, lifelong collectors. I could listen to the two of you talk about, you know, what napkin to use at a restaurant because it's incredible. And we have now almost 600 episodes of your podcast to enjoy.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of fun doing it with Rich, but I mean, I I mean, I enjoy Rich a lot. There's no question about that. But again, Rich gets I'm not schizophrenic or multiple personality or anything, but Rich gets a certain response out of me. And some of the people I interviewed that I know hardly at all will ask some other questions that evoke a different response.
Sure.
And so that's been fun too. They're maybe not as much fun for you because you guys know Rich and he's so much fun. It's just encyclopedic. So, and then I do some episodes, especially the shorter ones. I'll just riff on something for a shorter period of time. And some of those I think are a little more professorial sometimes. But again, I'm going to try to keep it short. So, but Rich, we could do 2 hours. I'm not going to, but
Well,
we could.
Something that we've talked about, when I say we, Steph, Tim, and I had talked about for a long time, is having maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours with you and Rich together, where we can kind of do a hobby timeline of what collecting was like from, pre-tobacco, the late 1800s with Old Judge and Ginter, all the way through tobacco, all the way up to modern day Bowman. And just, one question that my dad has asked, and he's like, if you're going to talk to him, you have to ask this question, because he's genuinely interested. He was born in 1953, non-sports collector. What was, the hobby right now is enamored with protection. We have to go slab it. We have to put it in top loaders. People open products with gloves on. What was collecting like in your youth, and at what point did the hobby start to change? If it's 1958 and I want to save a card, was there anything available for me to put it in?
It's way worse than that. If you were in the neighborhood, and I lived in many neighborhoods, if you're in any of these neighborhoods and you tried to do white gloves with your cards, you'd probably get beat up.
So it's more or less what bike spoke number it went in,
No, there was no thought of value other than, in fact, a lot of times the kids at the end of the year, they just, I was the recipient at least 1 year of the cards. It's the end of the year. I don't need the cards anymore. I said, well, I'll take them.
All right.
Cool. Okay. So,
Nice.
and I put them away but nobody was talking about that. You would never trade last year's cards for this year's cards. It was all about this year's cards. And so it's just different. And to take extra good care of them, we were flipping them up again. It was, the leaders against the wall. And so again, if you were a condition freak, you would be socially outcast. You wouldn't be in my friend group. It would be bad. It would be bad.
What year? And again, this is just arbitrary, perhaps. What year would you say that mindset was? It in the mid '80s when people are like, "Hey, wait a minute, maybe we should start protecting this," or was it earlier?
Well, the products, probably in the 80s, maybe in the certainly in the 90s.
Kids were still
Yeah,
doing
I don't
the
think
same
kids
thing
were,
in the
though.
90s.
I think there were plastic sheets, more so than penny sleeves or top loaders or semi-rigids, card savers. I don't remember. To me, that's a later phenomenon. But the plastic sheets, and the problem was some of the early plastic sheets were worse than nothing. They were PVC.
For that too.
If you put them in the wrong humidity or temperature, you had a sandwich, plastic sandwich with a card in between.
So we have a couple of listener questions that kind of popped up. One of the questions from a good buddy of ours, Herman Bryant, who's been on the show with us a few times at 3B Collection, says, how have you not been honored with a card in Allen and Ginter?
It's not my call. I retired. I have my own fan favorite card, which was fun. So Topps has done some stuff already.
Which, for what it's worth, Rich has a card from a buddy of mine that if you wouldn't mind signing, it'll get to you eventually.
Bring it to the dinner if you want me to
Sure.
sign something. Sure. Yeah.
That makes more
I
sense.
will do my best to make it to Dallas at one of your dinners. I would be absolutely honored to sit in with you and just the 8-year-old child in me that would just be absolutely giddy. In fact, I told my wife, I told my boss today, I was like, dang, I think in 3 years of doing this show, this might be the most nervous I've been, or maybe for the first time nervous. And it's like I've been on your show before, and that was an honor. And it's just like one of our listeners and good friends who's been on, James Kikowski, says arguing with Dr. Jim is like arguing theology with God. And
Yes.
Guys, that is, let me just say there's one word for that, and that's called blasphemy.
That's fair.
I'm
Fair.
not- I don't want to get
Okay.
struck by lightning, guys.
So perhaps maybe not God, but maybe you'll like this one. A listener of ours, DR, says, love the show, guys. Dr. Beckett, earlier today, people voted in a hobby Twitter survey that you are the Yoda of the hobby. What are your thoughts about that?
Is it Baby Yoda or Yoda?
The all wise and knowing.
Yoda in his prime? Yeah, I don't know. Yoda never actually. He was a baby, and then next thing you know, he looked like he's really old in all the original movies, but
Yeah.
or wrinkly at least. So I don't think it's a compliment, guys.
Scissortail Cards in our YouTube chat had a story to share with you. As a kid, he and his brother would always talk about Beckett magazines, so much that when they got a new puppy and tried to think of a name, their mom suggested, name him Beckett. So they did, and that's the story of how their dog became named Beckett. So thought that you might get a kick out of that.
Yeah, that's. I have not heard that, but
There you go.
Our friend Dan at Korean Cardboard says, who and how did Beckett decide who would be on the front and back covers?
well, it was. We tried to be not democratic, but we tried to spread it around. So it couldn't just be who was the hottest in that sport for that month. Otherwise, it'd be perpetual Michael Jordan for many years.
Sure.
So we tried to rotate it around, not just with who was, to balance it between some veterans, some younger players, some East Coast, West Coast, and give somebody a shot. And so, and sometimes it was dependent a little bit on, we had and you guys would probably agree with this. If somebody is super hot and you have not a great photo of them, and somebody is cold and you have a great photo, you're still going to take the guy that's hot with
Sure.
a photo that's not
Sure.
that great. And so, but we had some art directors that thought, oh, you can't use that. That's not the best photo. I said, well, no, but people, our readers are not photojournalists. They're fans of the player, and it's, all cards aren't beautiful, but if you collect a certain player, you're going to collect their cards. And we had people collecting the magazines based on their personal player collecting. They added that to the collection. Very
Absolutely.
much.
I mean, I still have all the ones in my garage with McGuire and Canseco, and I'm sure folks at Bo Jackson and Ken Griffey and Don Mattingly and other sports as well. It wasn't like you guys only did baseball, but
I got
that
several
was
pockets, and I think Ken Herbeck.
yeah. You go into the local card
Yeah.
shop and you're gonna buy the Beckett anyway. But how much cooler was it when your guy was on it? I mean, 89 Tops featured the 89 Tops Canseco coming off the 40/40, and for me, it was just like, I couldn't tell you how hard it was not to rip into those packs in anticipation of pulling that 89 Canseco. And you knew that if that player was featured on the front of Beckett, man, something good was about to happen, or something good had happened. And it's kind of a reflection.
Something good already had happened. The reason was because there was somebody that would be a draw that would be, by that time, by the late 90s, we were doing significant business on the national newsstand in the Walmarts and things like that. So these covers need to pop. You need to be able to
Sure.
recognize with just at a glance that this was a player that you really wanted to, your eye was drawn to it on the crowded newsstand. So, and the back covers were not as important, but we try out some new guys or a new photographer, something like that. So we could experiment more. But the front cover, what was going to be facing, that's the first impression. So it needed to be something that didn't look like it was a guy that was hot 6 months ago, because that would look like it was 6 months old magazine. It needed to be something, hey, this is the new one. This is the guy. Yeah.
For print
Sure.
tags,
No,
you
absolutely.
have to anticipate.
Now, you know that I super collect multiple copies of multiple cards, most notably the 87 Topps McGuire.
87 Topps McGuire. I'm accumulating those, Ben. I'm not competing with you, but I'm just holding on to them. Or maybe we have a
Just
trade
remember, if they ever need to find a new home, I can submit my
Right.
address via email.
I will never forget that.
Do you or have you ever in your history of collecting done that with a specific player? I know you're a big Clemente guy. Has there ever been a card where you just wanted to hoard it because it was fun, not because it was going to have some type of future or current monetary worth, but just a good looking card perhaps?
Well, maybe there's a subtle difference, but I have not done that. But I do have more than 1 or 2 copies of some cards that are good cards. But it's not because I accumulate them as much as I didn't get rid of them. If
Gotcha.
I bought a collection and it had Clemente cards in it, if the condition was not so great, maybe I would, I'd sell it, trade it off, something like that, if I already had it. But if it was decent condition, I thought, this is good trade material. Maybe same thing with Mantle or Mays or Aaron. And so I wasn't going out and buying them and accumulating. I wasn't selling them when I bought other collections. So then I can look up, and now I've got, and so if there ever was a trade night, I'd have some decent stuff to trade.
So I got one from a good buddy of ours, Those Back Pages / Eric, said, can you define, and he said that you would know what this meant. Can you define knowledge versus wisdom in regards to the card world?
Yeah, I mean, you could have, when you have kind of data, numbers, and then when you kind of assemble it, it becomes informative, that you maybe have like some information, and that's better than the raw data because you're bringing some order to it. And then when you synthesize it further, it's more knowledge, and you're doing something with it. You're understanding something with it. But when you learn how to apply that knowledge, that's wisdom. That's wisdom. So it started with just raw data, gathering it, synthesizing somewhat, turning it into knowledge. And the wisdom is being able to apply that knowledge in a more general understanding kind of way. And that's why when people are just doing raw comp lookups, that's not wisdom unless you can draw some inference from, now I'm seeing some trends. I'm seeing that, I'm able to make some generalizations that are helpful going forward rather than just these lookups. It's like, I don't know Spanish, but I can use my iPhone to translate any word one at a time. Well, I don't know Spanish, but if I really want to get good at something, I ought to learn Spanish, not think, well, I don't need to learn Spanish because I can look up any word I need to find it.
And that's why you are the Yoda as voted on by Hobby Twitter today.
Gosh.
Before we let you go, we're right about the hour that you had.
I have to tell my wife that I was voted Yoda. That is not very inspiring.
Would you rather be Han Solo? I mean, we can.
He died in the last movie, right?
In
Yes.
number 7, yeah.
Yeah.
If you choose to acknowledge those.
So
I don't want to be Darth Vader. I want to be Luke. I just
if we can ask one last question, and it's actually something that
maybe the Mandalorian.
That's a good one. Sure.
Something that I'm borrowing from Dan Rather, who has a show that interviews a lot of musicians. Before we let you go, he always asks everybody at the last thing is, what one question did we not ask you tonight that you would have liked to have been asked?
That's not fair. Guys, that's the reason I do a daily podcast, because after I leave here and go to sleep, I'm not going to wake up in the middle of the night thinking about it. But tomorrow I'll think of something. And the beauty of it is I can do a podcast episode that I can say, hey, I had a great time with those guys. And but they didn't ask me one question that I wanted them to ask, and I just thought of it, so I'm going to answer it now. But I'd prefer to turn the tables and say, let's just do it again sometime, and you guys think of some more questions, and we'll have fun. And if you want to get Rich on to do a random walk through memory lane, that'd be double the fun.
I would absolutely be honored, and I think somewhere I've got questions, and if not, I can start again. But if we can do like a 2-hour show on a weekend, and we'll just kind of guide you with some questions and let the two of you go at it for 2 hours and help us, because I think that's something that would be special to have on tape, on record of how the hobby developed over the last 120 years. And, Dr. Jim, we want to thank you from the deepest part of our hobby hearts for your time this evening.
Definitely.
And you are most welcome, and we'll reach out as soon as we can. And it was an absolute honor.
Pleasure all mine, y'all. I look forward to seeing Steph and Angela. I'll see y'all in a week and a half, I guess.
Yes.
And then you got the invitation, so when you can come, that'll be great to have you there too.
Hey, Dr. Jim, you are an absolute gem. We appreciate your time this evening, and many blessings. And we'll talk again really soon, hopefully.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a great night.
I'm going to sleep now. See y'all.
You want to talk about one of a kind, Steph and Ange, right? I mean, it's
Sure.
not Dr. Jim, it's the Dr. Jim. I mean, he's an amazing piece of this hobby and has been for decades, and his name will live on for decades.
The magazine is nicknamed The Beckett. You got to put the. It's like the Ohio State University, man.
I mean, is it though?
It is.
We've talked about Ohio way too much on this episode. So we know we're already probably about halfway through the show. We did hold back some stuff for future weeks just because we were going to have a lengthy conversation with the good doctor, and hopefully we got a lot of questions. We'll try to reach out and maybe try to get him back in a couple of months, and see if we can load up. I know we had a lot of economic based questions with him, and a little bit of lighter stuff towards the end. But man, that guy is just. I mean, we could talk to him for hours and hours and never. Hey, have me back on when you have more questions. You mean like tomorrow? Because we haven't even.
I missed that Twitter poll where they named him the Yoda. I wonder who else was on that Twitter poll. There was one other gentleman's name, and I forget his name, and I did not recognize it, so I apologize. So anyhow, let's get into the show. This just in, the listener mail days. This week's feature courtesy of Alex Visioni. Recently, he added some really awesome cards. We did mention this last week, I believe. He had pulled a gold Bowman Mega Austin Martin out of 75, which was pack pulled. Recently, he also pulled a 2021 Gypsy Queen Griffey auto out of a pack. And he added a 2021 Gypsy Queen Aaron Judge auto to his PC. That one was purchased on eBay. Steph, I don't know if you can pull up the picture.
Yep.
He's working on it.
Right here.
But that's pretty incredible. He's definitely had a hot streak to the point where I've texted him back and forth, like, either go buy lottery tickets or don't go buy lottery tickets. I don't know which one you should. Just keep opening packs for right now, because my word, he's definitely had some success recently.
The gold Mega Refractor as well.
Yeah, it's out of 50. I think I might have said 75.
No, yeah, gold's always 50, I believe.
Yeah.
And then, as well as you alluded to, here is the Ken Griffey Jr. auto, which, not gonna lie, kind of one of the ones I want. I'm not a huge Griffey mega collector per se, but an auto would be nice to have in the collection. I mean, he is in the all-time home run collection. I do have a bat and a jersey relic.
I mean, he does have the best swing in baseball.
Prettiest. Hands
Look
down.
at his signature too. It almost looks like, with that particular picture. We're going to get to that in just a little bit, Steph. I have that on the show notes.
Sure.
But the Griffey, the signature and the bat almost kind of connect with him in the middle. Awesome, and a lot of good stuff from Alex. So we definitely appreciate him sharing that with us. Please feel free to share with About the Cards your recent awesome mail days or pulls. Tag at About the Cards on Twitter with pictures or a video under 60 seconds, preferably. Please keep the videos G-rated if you go that direction and use the hashtag About the Cards Mail Day. And we'll do our best to feature your cards on an upcoming episode. The week that was last week's releases, Topps Living Week 179 was Kyle Schwarber and Ryan Mountcastle of the Red Sox and Orioles, respectively. Don't have sold listings because they couldn't even post this week's cards. Also dropping last week was Panini National Treasures Basketball, Topps Luminaries Baseball, Topps Allen and Ginter, Panini Immaculate Collegiate Football, and Panini Prism. So hot off the presses, the new releases, as I alluded to, the Topps Living Week 180. Who knows? Perhaps they just killed the set. We don't know. We having a little bit of fun with it this afternoon, this evening, about Topps closing on the East Coast and sending us to bed have no idea what they were. They didn't post anything. So I suppose stay tuned for tomorrow. I mean, you want us to buy the stuff, at least have some pictures posted. I mean, it'd be nice to know what they are. Topps Living Star Wars available through next. Yeah, thanks, Topps. Right. Topps Living Star Wars available through next Tuesday with card 231 Biggs Darklighter from Star Wars A New Hope, 232 Lore Santeca from Star Wars The Force Awakens.
No, get that right. That's Father Marin.
Huh?
That's Father Marin.
Oh, the actor?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay.
It's Lore Santeca was also Father Marin from The Exorcist.
What a
For those who
nerd.
may not recognize him as Lore Santeca.
Topps Sports Illustrated, also available through next Tuesday, came out. It's week 23 of 35. Card number 45, Deion Sanders of the Reds, featured in 1997. And for our good buddy Matt McNeil, card number 46, Eddie Matthews of the Braves, all the way back from 1954. Topps Throwback Thursday, available through tomorrow morning only. So if one of your guys are on this list, go ahead and grab them. Hopefully it's not too late. Set number 32, also in the 1985 Topps football style. Don Mattingly, Joey Votto with the short print variations available, and Adolis Garcia. So make sure you grab those.
So one that I liked to see, they did a bit of for the Field of Dreams game. They did a design based on that, although it looks like that's already sold out. But that did release as well last week. So we're all over the board.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. What's coming up this week as far as new releases go with boxes? 2021 Panini Immaculate Baseball drops on Friday at $450 a box. You'll get 1 pack and 6 cards. You should be getting 2 mem and 4 auto. 2020-21 Panini Spectra Basketball also dropping Friday, coming in at $2,200. 4 packs, 4 cards. You'll get 4 autos, 4 parallels. Seems like a really good deal. So head to your LCS and go grab those. Grab a couple, right? Why not? 2021 Panini Elements Football also drops Friday, $345 a box. You'll get 1 pack, 5 cards. You'll get 1 base or rookie medal, 1 base or rookie medal parallel, 1 on-card medal auto, and 1 other auto or mem. Or I think it's 1 other auto and 1 mem, creating the 5 cards. So a little more palatable if you know football's your thing. $345. Be interesting. Probably watch something like that first. All these products, high-end products. Although $350 just kind of seems like the average price point nowadays. Speaking of which, 2021 Topps Chrome Hobby and Jumbo drop on Friday. $350 a box. You'll get 24 packs, 4 cards a pack. In a box, you'll get 2 autos. There are 16 color parallels to chase down if you go down the checklist just to number it out of 25. If memory serves, these boxes were under $100 as recently as 2014. Inflation doesn't quite work like that at that rate, 3.5 times in 7 years. 200 card base set. So you'll need at least 3 boxes to complete a base set. or approximately $1,050 plus tax. So you want a base set of Topps Chrome, you want to do it yourself, $1,000. That's assuming that collation is of good, quality. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about that before, right? You open up a box and you get a bunch of dupes. That stack's is big. What do you guys think? $1,000 at three boxes of Topps Chrome, $1,000? Are you kidding me?
It's a bit ridiculous.
I mean, and your two autos.
Especially when they're not flat.
Yeah, your two autos. I mean, what are the odds of you getting a box at $350 and your two autos being under $10 a pop?
2 Colorado relief pitchers or Oakland A's.
2018, I built 8 different parallel team sets, all of them, basically in maybe like the first 1 or 2 numbered sets. Last year, I didn't build a parallel, not even the refractor, because they were just too hard to come by and too expensive. And I'm not paying $12 for a refractor if I've got to buy 8 of them. A refractor parallel set's not worth $100 to me. Well, I mean, I could build 5 team sets for that same price just 3 years ago.
So, and here's one for you. I mean, mind you, this Prismic Power? It's kind of
short print. Yeah.
Short print. Great looking card. I'll give it that. But box odds, what to expect, you should get 1. Now, I'm willing to bet that's probably 10, 25 card insert set.
10, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
10? Yeah. Okay. So
I could be wrong, but yeah, it's
for those who are chasing, actually 15, who are chasing down the set. That's a lot to chase down when there's only 1 a box. And I mean, sure, some guys like Luke Voigt and Matt Olson are going to be more chased after as opposed to guys like Mike Trout and Bryce Harper per se. But that's a lot, especially when a box is $350, and people are going to want to make back some of that $350.
Yeah, it's
not cool.
I was talking to a buddy, Scott Green, who's in charge of the baseball prospect site, Prospects 1500, which I wrote for a short period, and he was going to do a box break, and I said $350 a box, and he goes, "Whoa!" He goes, "It's almost one of those things where you have to do it box break style, unless you're going to go on the secondary, because it just does not make sense for the average collector." And granted, everybody collects a little bit different, but $350 and you can't even get halfway to a set. This is literally the product that broke me as a box opener way back in 2012. And that's when it was $90 a box.
Yeah.
3.5 times.
I thought it was high at 90.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It was high at 90 because you're still only getting half the set. You still need 2 boxes, to get the complete set. And I think it was 220 cards back then to build a base. But, which you could go online at that time, which I did, and bought a whole complete set for $25. And then I bought all the A's autos, and I think there were 5 or 6 on the checklist, and still had money left over as opposed to buying 1 box. So buyer beware on that. Topps Chrome is going to continue to go up as they all are. But it used to be a fun product, and now it's just like many others. It's just cost prohibitive, assuming you can find it. Also releasing this week, 2021 Super Duper Series 2 high-end buybacks. Also releases on Friday. Please, if somebody knows what that is, I'd really like to know. But Topps has also decided to release Mego dolls. The 2 will be released per week, dropping every Monday. $20 a pop. Shazam and Black Adam, 2 of the characters you would probably not see on a checklist like this. My dad said Shazam was one of the worst selling of the original line back in the 70s or 80s.
Interesting. I kind of like the movie, but I mean, admittedly, I'm much more of a bigger DC fan than I am Marvel. Like both, but it was a solid movie, and I think they've teased Black Adam coming up. So
it's the same doll. Shazam is in red, and Black Adam is in black. It's the same doll. So basically, it's the base and the parallel.
So just a remodel.
All scheduled release dates are subject to change, but we're current as of this morning. MSRP pricing product details were gathered from blowout cards and are subject to change. Please check out Ryan Cracknell's articles on Beckett.com/news for more details on these new releases. What is brewing next week? We'll run through these. It's a rather big list. Dropping on 8/25 are all of the following: 21 Panini Certified Football, 2021 Panini Prism Quick Pitch Baseball, 2021 Topps Pro Debut, Topps 2021 Topps Chrome Platinum, 2021 Topps Star Wars Chrome Galaxy, and 21 Topps WWE NXT dropping on 8/27, which is next Friday. Donruss Optic Basketball, Onyx Vintage, Wildcard Matte Football Mega, Pokemon Sword and Shield Evolving Skies, and First Partner Pack, 2 separate releases. And then Leaf
Nice.
Pearl Hockey. And then Topps Big League Baseball got pushed back from a August release date to a September release date. And this started in March, if memory serves. Can we have a moment of silence for Topps Big League Baseball, which probably is not coming out?
No.
And that's really regretful because it's actually a lower end product and you might actually be able to afford said product.
Well, and especially when, okay, so just going based off what we listed, $349 a box, $344 a box, $2,100 a box, $449 a box, and then some online releases. Big League Baseball will be A, wonderfully welcomed right now,
Yeah.
and B, they really need to have an insert set based on Little Big League. Come on, it's right there, guys.
It's right there.
Right there. Don't
Come on.
kill the set until you have that, because that was one of the best movies ever.
I've been saying it for years that RBI Baseball needs to have Andrew Benintendi on the Nintendo Switch cover athlete, and a Little Big League needs to be in Topps Big League. Come on,
Yeah.
guys.
Well, we've seen
Wow.
Sandlot and we've seen Major League.
Sure.
It's time. It's time to
Resurrect
get
the
our,
Metrodome. And
it's time to get our Billy card.
Please don't. Please don't.
So the infield chatter. I know this is considerably later. Again, I think it was a really good interview, so well worth it. This might be the best thing you see in the hobby. Steph, you got the video ready? It's a 1-minute video. We'll play it. This might be one of the best things you'll see, if not ever, in a long time. At Dan Fleischman, at DANFLYSHMAN, I believe, shared this. If you can watch this, I mean, it's got to bring the kid out in you. It is absolutely phenomenal. The young man's name is Mason. Parents' name are Kyle and Monica. They're from Ripon, California, which is about a 35-minute drive south of here. If you're not familiar with that city, it's between Stockton and Modesto. This is absolutely how we all should be opening product. And if you've lost this child in you, I mean, Mason represents everything that is good in the hobby.
Let me know how the audio is, and then I'll give you like a 2-second preview.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh! How much on the account? Oh! 1 out of 1!
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, you're good.
All right. Start from the bottom.
Oh! 1 out of 1!
Oh my god! No!
Aaron
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Yeah!
Oh my god!
Aaron Judge!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Might be a little surprised.
Oh
Yeah,
my
just a little bit.
Yeah!
Gives Dad a big hug.
No way! Dad! Dad, no way!
High five to Dad.
God!
That's the one.
Oh my god, Dad!
We got it. We
Oh
got
my
it.
god!
Sweet, dude.
He's got 1 of 1 Aaron Judge
Yep.
with like a MLB.
Oh my gosh, that is like the coolest card.
Give me some, Dad. Oh my
Ah.
god. Our prayers were answered.
What an amazing video. When he says, "Give me some, Dad," it's just like, dude, I mean, that's got to make your heart smile.
It's a nice touch.
Yeah.
Great video, especially breaking with your kid at that age still.
Yeah, I mean, we got it. The 1-on-1. I talked to a youth pastor from his area that knows the family. He provided me with the names of everybody from the family, and I tried to get the details on the one-on-one judge, what product it was from, but I hadn't heard back before showtime. But oh man, when I watched that, it was just, I'm having a cigar, minding my own business. Somebody tags me in it. I open it up. I'm not expecting that. And I'm sitting outside thinking, man, the air quality is really bad because my eyes are watering. And
You are in California.
love it. If we can get, we'll see if we can get the family on and talk for a few minutes in an upcoming episode. But we should all be, every time you get something in the mail, you should be opening it up. Like, I don't care how, limited and rare it is or how common it is. Just like, anyway, give me some, Dad. Is awesome. Mason
Right.
is awesome. And Fergie Jenkins has reached out on Twitter and said he was going to send him some autograph cards and got a few other ex-major leaguers involved. So I hope Mason has nothing but awesome mail days coming up because he deserves it. His enthusiasm, we should never lose that as hobbyists. And speaking of which, let's transition into the old man yelling at the clouds via our good buddy Ryan Cracknell at Trader Cracks. The 2022 baseball season will not kick off with 2022 Topps Series 1 flagship, but with Topps Sterling. A direct quote from Ryan's tweet, the old man yelling at the clouds and me thinks that's weird and not right. So what are your thoughts?
It's not right. That's a money grab. Let's put Sterling, which commands somewhat of a higher price than Topps Series 1.
He's 100% right.
I feel gross.
I'm sorry. If you want to have a debate on whether Topps or Donner should release first, fine. Topps always does. With Donner usually releasing in March or April.
Sure.
But no, the guys, come on. Is it so hard to release your first major product as the Series 1? That there's a reason it's called Series 1, not Release 1,
Well,
not Release 3, Series 1. It should be the flagship release of the new year, much the same way that the new design should be released at the National.
At least it's not Archive Signature Series.
So
TAS.
So I agree, right? Bowman's best for the last couple of years, I believe, has really been the last Topps release right at the end of December. And
Sure.
then we get a 6-week window. Bring in the new year, reset, relax, at least for baseball collectors. So let's preface it by saying that. For baseball collectors, you get a 6-week window from the end of the year with Bowman Draft and Bowman's Best until you get Topps flagship at the beginning, first 10 days or so generally.
Put away everything from the year and then restart again.
Yeah, Christmas is out of the way. We're going to ramp up, and then it's like, in February, boom, you're going to hit us with 11 months of releases. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Topps Sterling, and I think it has an initial street date of January 12th, if memory serves. Come on. Steph, when is the last time this has happened, or is this new?
Well, and as she alluded to, I mean, the Topps Archive Signature Series has kind of leapfrogged Topps Series 1 the last year or two or three, and it shouldn't. Series 1 should be the first release of the year. It's not that hard, guys. And sure, maybe Sterling gets pushed back, or Sterling, right?
Yeah,
Right?
Sterling would
okay.
be fine in March.
Top Sterling, maybe it gets pushed back because everything that's others getting pushed back, and maybe this is an issue just due to getting press time, but push everything else back then too. Then I mean,
As much as
for years, and as Ken alludes to, the highlight of Christmas was opening up the new box of the first set or the factory set of the year.
Yeah.
For the previous year, guys. Let us enjoy that again. The Series 1 should be, or opening day. Okay, fine. I get it. It's not. But Series 1 should be the first release of the year every single year.
Like literally, like period, end of discussion. There's no need to debate it. That's your first baseball release every year. It's expected. It's anticipated. It's historical. Done. There's no counter argument. There's no but. No, stop.
And while we're at it, other companies, don't be releasing last year's product when a new season's already started or training camp. No
What-
offense
what-
to the Cup and some of the stupid, expensive football and basketball releases, but they should have been out before the end start of the new season, and or cut some releases and place them in that place.
Is it 18-19 basketball? Was it that released
my
for like 17 years after
Right.
the draft
Yeah.
class? I mean, these guys are inductions into the Hall of
premium
Fame.
stock or whatever, and I'm like, dude.
Guys, they started playing 16 months ago.
Yeah,
I shouldn't have to pull out a release calendar to go, oh yeah, that released this week. Not much.
when he's making all NBA third year, and you're like, oh yeah, but there's more rookie cards coming out next year. It's like, stop, come on,
And like
Anyway.
I said, some of those products are nice, and they are the pinnacle of their release schedule. Again, the Cup.
The Cup falls into that.
Some of those others, but come on. Don't front load us and don't back load us. You're getting enough of our money throughout the year.
Yeah. So in case you missed it, the Honus Wagner card is back on top, and as it should be via the Athletic.
Should be.
They wrote a really nice article. The 1909-1911 T206 sold at auction on Monday, August 16th via Robert Edward Auctions. The card opened up at $1 million on July 23rd. It sold officially for $5.5 million with a 20% buyer's premium, bringing the final sale price up to $6.6 million, which is the official number that we would use as the sale price. A 1952 Topps Mantle has just set the record at $5.2 million back in January. The previous high for the T206 Wagner was actually just recently in May of 2021, and it sold for $3.75 million. Considering some of the other insane prices we've seen for, what was the Steph Curry 1/1 RPA and other high-end products.
That
I mean,
stuff just made me feel gross. It really should be. The T206 is the pinnacle of the hobby. There's a known number of them.
yeah, it's one of those things that it'll always be the most iconic card, perhaps in the entire industry across all sports. I know that a guy that we're going to have on in an upcoming weeks, Garrett New, would argue the 86 Jordan or the Gretzky rookie, which are right there as well. I mean, but to me, they're that next tier down. Even maybe the next tier down after the 52 Mantle, but this is the card. And it probably won't hold this record for long. It's like a quarterback signing a new contract. He gets to have that privilege and pleasure of being the highest paid quarterback for sometimes a couple of days before the next one comes. But even if Wagner ends up being the 5th highest of all time, 10th highest as cards continue to creep up, no card will ever supplant it as far as it can't. I mean, this card is 110 years old and growing. You can't tell me a card that was produced 5-10 years ago has more long-term value, not worth, value.
Well, so here's one for you if you want some history on the card itself, because it was auctioned, originally reintroduced into the hobby in the 70s by a good friend of ours that we talked to at the National, his father. This being, of course, reported by Darren Ravel, but I have other links that to lesser people, to more important people, rather, than this lesser person. Bought in 1972 and launched 600 cards for $112. Sold in 1973 for $1,100. Sold in 2012 for $1.2 million. And last night, Honus Wagner sold for $6.6 million. Honus now is at positions number 1, 7, 9, 10 as the most expensive cards list. And again, like I said, Andrew Ehrenstein, son of the MA of TCMA. This Wagner was found on Long Island and auctioned via phone from New York at the Midwest Sports Collectors Convention in Detroit. Sold for $1,100, but my father only paid $935, so he could collect a 15% commission for brokering the deal. That was in 1973. In 1972, he was still on the hunt for a Wagner to complete his T206 set and discovered one missing 3 borders in a horde of T206s he purchased locally. I believe that's the one we're referring to in your main post. So even that's incorrect. In 1974, he discovered another now known as the Jumbo Wagner. For that one, he paid $1,300 and held on until 1984 when it sold at auction for $23,000 in 1984. Sold most recently in 2016 for $3.12 million. The quote-unquote Jumbo Wagner, now shown here, PSA 5 miscut / EX grade 5. Sweet looking card.
Mhm.
Now, something that I don't know, Steph, that I know you'll have like a whole encyclopedia on. That one was Sweet Capital back.
Do believe so.
Yes.
How many
The most
are? I thought, is Piedmont not more common, or I thought
At least
Sweet
the
Cap
ones
was
I've seen.
okay. Or I mean, just in general for T206, is Piedmont more common than Sweet Cap?
Well, let me hold up.
I
Here.
know they're kind of neck and neck, but
Right.
how many? I mean, do we have most of the Wagners that are sold? Are they all the same back, or are there more rare backs that are still in existence?
I mean, I do believe that there's roughly 40 to 50 that are commonly traded and or pled guilty due to mail fraud due to the trimming thereof. But as far as the backs, I'm not entirely positive. I'm trying to pull it up here. The interesting thing, though, and Andrew alluding to his father owning this card, the Robert Edward Auctions, I believe, is the auction house that had it.
Correct.
For display at the National. So somebody saying, "Hey, coolest thing here at the Nats, man! Wow!" At Card Purchaser, featuring the SGC graded 3 vintage oddball card that says Piedmont. Which, okay. Personally, I've seen more cap rolls, but is what it is. Again, they're all neck and neck.
So Ken
But
says that
Andrew
he thought
posted a picture of him holding the card that his dad bought in the 70s, and that's a nice touch.
no, that's awesome. I'd like to have Andrew on sometime. We should reach out to him just because I'm sure he's got some
Definitely.
stories. But
Him and or his dad and or both at the same time.
or both. Let's do it. Ken says that he thought all Wagners were Sweet Cap, which would make sense because it got pulled so quickly. If there's an old cycle or a polar bear of a Wagner, you would have to assume that they would go off the charts, especially if it's in fairly good condition. You know, if we're talking like a 3, I mean, just one of the
There's
more
also
rare
a
backs.
drum back.
A what?
A drum back. DRUM.
Interesting. Can't be very many of any non-Sweet Cap backs or Piedmont if they had those, but yeah.
Is it
So real quick, Steph, do you have that tweet up that I had linked from John Cable's Piano Hip Pie on Twitter? Contested bit.
One of us is roboting.
It's roboting pretty badly. Chat, can you hear me better or Ben better? Either way, I do have the tweet that he's talking about, and I will pull it up here. Share screen, video, boop, ba-doop, ba-doop, from no PVs, etc. Concerning Honus Wagner, he was good, but Otani is so much better. If the card is worth that much, then Otani will be much higher. The card is worth that much because there were only about 50 ever made. Exactly. And if they make it 10,000 of Otanis, it'll be worth so much more because that's way more than 50. You serious right now?
Yeah.
I saw that. You have to laugh at something like that. I mean, this guy is. I think he thinks he knows what he's talking about.
Okay. So they weigh production wise. They produced way more basic model Mustangs than they did Boss 302s, and yet people want more of the Boss 302s. No offense to Otani, great player, and Jack Morris may have said some stupid things about him just the other day, but I'm gonna keep the Boss 302. I'm gonna keep the Wagner. No offense.
And Ken, I'm not entirely sure. That was from a quick Google, so you know how wrong that could be.
Ken says from prewarcards.com, the Wagner is found with only 3 different ones. Piedmont. That they were the 150 factory 25, the Sweet Cap.
So
150 factory had 25, and then the Sweet Cap 150 Factory had 30. So
maybe that's why I was thinking there were more sweet caps. I was combining the factory and with the prints.
which is fair. I mean, so there's only 2 separate backs as far as
Right.
on the
Ken is doing
surface.
my homework for me. Thank you, Ken.
Interesting. So, moving on, the wrong Nola at AM Sports Cards tweets out, "Can you spot the error? PSA graded this Aaron Nola card, except it's not. It's his brother Austin. Whoops."
Thanks, Tops.
Whoopsies.
So not only did they flub the fact that it's a Aaron versus Austin Nola,
Ooh.
but it's definitely an Austin Nola signature. Okay, so they got at least that much right. But PSA said that it's Aaron Nola and it's a 2016 Topps Chrome. Oh, guys, that's 2019 design.
Someone got a little loose with the catalog.
Guys, get it together.
Rookie mistakes, man.
Yeah, and just one last thought on Anson at pre-war cards. He went through a bunch of his collection on Twitter the other day. I think it was like an hour-long video. Just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get a chance to watch it all, but one night I'm gonna sit out back with a cigar and just watch in glory. He'll readily admit he doesn't have the greatest pre-war collection, but it's better than mine, and it's stuff I haven't seen. And Anson is not only a great follow and a great hobbyist, but has a lot of knowledge and a great collection of pre-war stuff. So if you are into vintage or pre-war, definitely give him a follow if you're not already. I would imagine you probably are very familiar with him and his collection if you're collecting similar to the way he does. We mentioned Alex Visioni as well earlier in the show with his mail day. So he opened up some Allen and Ginter, and he said the flashlight trick strikes again. Careful buying 2021 A&G unripped rip cards. He pulled a Clemente rip and could tell that there was a Brewers mini in it. Maybe Christian Yelich, he couldn't tell. He couldn't tell if it was an extended base or a stained glass, but he could tell it was a Brewer nonetheless. We also have heard about magnets in the past being used to identify the mini metals, which are only out of 3. So your thoughts, it's your card. I opened up the box. It's my rip card.
And
What are your
it's
thoughts?
set.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on searching rip cards?
I
Before
rip all my
opening
rip cards. I rip them all. So it doesn't matter to me if you can see through it. I'm going to rip it. But I also try not to buy rip cards online because of things like this. Shenanigans. Yay.
That's fair.
There's nothing
Find
better.
a local trusted dealer, man.
Last year when Topps Rip, not Allen and Ginter, when Topps Rip was a standalone product, and I bought a couple of the Rip Topps Bunt
what?
physical versus Topps Bunt digital. But yeah, when I bought the Topps Rip, I had a few ripped cards in my collection, and I walked into the playroom with Bentley and John, and just, who touched my cards? Who ripped them? And they're both like, he did it. I didn't do it. It was him. And then Bentley, who's older, finally looks and goes, Dad, you bought it that way. But for about 45 seconds, I had those boys on edge. And the good news is the fear of God was in them to the point where I don't think that they would touch another card that's on Dad's desk. But
That's
if you have small kids, Allen and Ginter rip cards, Topps rip cards are a fun way to prank them and have a little bit of enjoyment in life out of these overpriced mini individuals that so yeah, good times. But yeah, it's your card. If you intend to keep it, it shouldn't matter if you search it or not, rip or
Right.
not. But if you intend to sell it, I mean, come on, let's be adults. It's a thin line between that and searching packs, in my
Right.
opinion.
Hashtag
Same.
back perverts.
I mean, if you're gonna sell it, disclose whatever you found, and
Yeah,
I'll be
if you found,
appreciative.
I
of
tried
it.
to hold a magnet to it. I couldn't get anything, so I think it's one of the others. Okay, cool.
Okay, cool. That's
I'm
more
still gonna try a
information I have.
magnet myself because things happen.
Full transparency, right? If If you've searched it, yeah, you should disclose it. But if you know you're going to sell it, and while we're on the topic, and Angela, I know you open up a lot of this product or have in the past. General rule of thumb, right? The higher the number on the rip card, if it's out of 99, odds are it's probably an extended base.
True.
As somebody on
It's
Facebook,
probably nothing, and
I honestly don't think we've ever gotten anything other than an extended base.
nope, I've not gotten anything fun out of a rip card. So
well, extended base is good if you get a player that you collect. You know,
I think
It's
we
good
had
if you are
Clayton
collecting-
Kershaw once, and I think even a Mike Trout.
yeah, if you're
2016,
collecting the entire
17.
set, you're gonna need them anyways.
well, our buddy Andrew Renault at Bayside Breakers, who I think is coming up on September 8th with us.
And
He
wasn't
pulled
good
a-
earlier.
Yeah, he pulled a George Brett rip and opened it up and got a stained glass mini Ricky Henderson for me. But there was somebody on Facebook today that had a Roger Hornsby rip out of 15 and asked whether or not he should rip it. And my thought is, odds are yes, because it's out of 15. And Hornsby's probably not as sought after. And, you know, you'll still make a few dollars. I just bought the Ricky Henderson card already ripped.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
probably not going to be burned, but you won't necessarily. There's some oddball things that you can get, so don't be surprised if you think you're burned.
So, in the same vein as the video that we just shared, this just came across my feed, and I got to share it. From Lars Leaf Blonde. Open blaster of Topps Allen Ginter, thanks Target.com, with my kid Caboose tonight, and she couldn't believe we hit this rad Junior Herwards special insert card. It might be a future breaker on my hands. So what it is, 2021 Topps Allen Ginter, Vlad Guerrero Jr. Bat Relic, game use memorabilia.
I'm jelly. I'm still waiting on my boxes from Target.
Of course, it does specify that it's not from any game or event or
Sure.
whatnots. But look at his daughter's excitement. That's
Yeah.
what it's all about.
Doesn't matter. You know, you should always buy something with the idea that it's a sunk cost.
Mm-hmm.
If you can profit off of it, whether it's short term, long term, whatever, great. But if you buy something, you should always think, hey, I'm not getting any money on the back end. And if you go in with that mentality, your smile is going to be just as big as hers when you pull something fun, something good. It's like, hey, this is what it's about. And to that point in comps, the Mark McGuire, some knucklehead eBay seller has McGuire mini framed relic for $50, and it's a $10 to $15 card all day long. It's like, come on, guys. Understand how to price stuff. Don't just throw stupid numbers out there and hope somebody buys it. And maybe somebody does. Good for you if you can get 2-3x over something, but just stop. Just do a quick search before if you don't know how to price it. If you don't know how to price it, put it at 99 cents and let the market dictate it. But
That's what Ivan says.
There was a tweet earlier this week about pricing something stupidly high, and I kind of, for Ginter, I kind of would suggest that.
But if there's 7 of them that you can get for under $20,
But take offers.
why
Take
would you put
offers.
something for $50? It's like, dude, yours isn't going to sell because the ones for under $20 are stagnant at this point. They're not
Well,
selling at that price.
And I think it was more for like the first one that pops out.
Yeah,
Hey, nobody knows what it is. Put it for $600. Take an offer.
it was something super low number too, like
Right.
number to less than 5.
Well, yeah, they're
For Ginter, you're gonna want to find the right buyer for that.
And
not
Ginter has a
necessarily
few of those
anybody.
obsessive must-have everything type
Sure.
guys that have deep wallets.
Yes.
Ginter and Heritage. We've said it many times before. Those are the 2 ultimate master collecting baseball releases every year. There are people that pay for nothing. We had a local collector that collected 0 except for Ginter. That was it. He would buy multiple cases. He would spend like 20 grand on that product every year, piece together everything that he could get out of his cases, sell off the rest, buy what he didn't pull. That was it. He was a Ginter collector, and Heritage has the same. That's why all of the short print variations, like the ones out of 10, 15, sell
It's
for so
not
much
as
money.
important to sell it in the first week because these guys will hunt it
Yeah.
years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, with
Six
those
searches.
products. Again, understand what product you're opening. Ginter, I've seen it so many times. I'm sure everybody out there has. If you're like on Facebook, you see people open up Ginter and go, "What is this crap? Why do I get a picture of an artist and an actor?" And it's like,
Why did you
trees.
open
And
it if you didn't do your research?
Yeah.
you would think at this day and age, you literally have one of these in your hand as you're purchasing it. It can stay in your cart while you're shopping for your produce and your undergarments and your PS5. You can look at it and go, you know what? Maybe Ginter's not the product for me, and go put it back. So, and if it is, awesome.
And exactly that.
Which I'm still
I'm
looking.
sorry that you bought a Ford Pinto, but you have any number of resources available to tell you that the Ford Pinto was not the correct yet.
Like, I'm still looking for an R.L. Stein autograph from last year's Ginter.
I got
We
the
have-
relic. That's one of the only ones I've ever got.
I have a
that-
relic. I need.
Yeah.
I have a line on the Chrome version of the autograph, but I want an original autograph too.
Yeah, no, that's
But
awesome.
again,
And
it's finding the right one.
yeah, the Scissor Tail Cards brings up that this relic is not from anything at all. You're telling me that my game worn mermaid tail isn't from an actual mermaid? That my Bigfoot, fur isn't from a real Bigfoot? So we're gonna have some fun. Some
Before
fun
you
with.
do that, I have one card to show off. She's
Sure.
grabbing it here. But I mean, there are a whole host of those where, okay, it's a lumberjack relic, but is it though? Is it?
Is it
It's amazing how much some of that stuff sells for on the secondary. If you want one of those one-offs that aren't from anything at all, you want a mermaid tail, you're gonna pay out the wazoo. It's not.
I mean,
Not a $5
I
relic.
kind of wanted to go after the Paul Bunyan, but
The coffee cups for
What about
sale right
this?
now for $665.
Now
I'm not joking.
how do you pronounce Suze's last name? I've never been able to pronounce that.
I don't
I
ask me.
can't. I just,
It's Suze.
It's Suze. She is
She's
singular
married-
name. She is like
Well-
Madonna.
Well, now she's married to Dan Good, so we'll just call her
Oh,
Suze
great.
Good. And but is that an
Suze is
in-person? Is that an in-person auto? Or?
So the Topps company gave each person like 50, 100 individual ones that they can hand out as chosen. And we met up with her at the National, and she signed one of each for us. So,
She is literally. She asked this week because somebody gave her something. She's like, I don't know why people are so nice to me, and I'm like, because you're literally the best. Period.
He is the
right?
best.
I mean, she's an awesome hobbyist and
oh, definitely.
a lot of great knowledge. And so yeah, she's another. If you're making a small short list of must follows on the good old Twitter, she's definitely making a short list, regardless of how or why you collect. So a couple of fun
I still
eBay.
have this. People. I need the About the Cards podcast
We can
group
set up a date
to help me set up a date that will actually break this open because
so I can stop harassing her about it.
he is
episode after
harassing me
episode.
nonstop. Like, when you don't break the box.
To which, of course, the obvious
Yes.
reply is, well, when are you going to break the box of 2015 Diamond Kings? And my answer is, I'm not.
I know you're.
I
not.
bought it for the sole purpose of I'm not going to open it. You said you were going to open that.
I'm
That's
going to
your fault.
open it.
One
It's just a matter
one
of
night you'll get
when
drunk
and
on
how we do
Whataburger.
it.
No,
And-
it's a pie. I'll dislocate my shoulder before I get to it.
So you'll get to it
I
like
thought this through.
tomorrow, next week. Couple of fun
Sure.
couple of fun eBay crap. Mikey P at Whoop, there it is, tweets out. I wanted to believe, I really did. What is it?
Message
How's
from
it read?
Rando, 105 feedback. He doesn't really have a favorite team. So previous message looks like, what other players / sports does he like? Seemingly asking about a kid. Message in reply. He doesn't really have a favorite team. He just has a bunch of favorite players. Okay, sure.
Okay.
Sure. Has a really great kid. He's a really great kid with a good heart. He has told me that if he doesn't make it through this to sell his collection, he wants all the proceeds to go to St. Jude's to help his friends that he's met while he's been there. Nice.
Fair.
Nice. But to answer your question, he likes all three sports, football, basketball, and baseball. Cool.
Mhm.
Was a great athlete himself before this happened.
Fair.
Fair. But he likes Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Fernando Tatis Jr., Ronald Acuna Jr., Derek Jeter, Luka Doncic, just to name a few.
Just anybody that's hot.
Interesting
Really.
PC.
No Gretzky?
No Gretzky though.
Come on, guy. Those are probably some of his top favorites. Oh, there are many more. That's just off the top of my head. What he is really needing now, though, is some LeBron James. He only has one. I'm trying
Oh
to
my
find him a
goodness.
rookie card, but they're just too expensive for us. So now I'm looking for maybe graded cards of LeBron or like rare insert cards or things of that nature. Thank you very much.
I have no money to pay for it. He only has one LeBron. But while we're on the topic of LeBron, listen to me, okay? Really want rare cards and graded. I don't have any money. Really want graded cards. He's a good kid. Really good kid. I only want cards numbered at 25 or less. Don't give me out of 50. That's not what he PCs. Come on, guy. Come on.
You
But
don't
hey.
want the signature versions too? I mean,
We didn't have the whole conversation. We don't know how he followed it up with, you know?
hopefully with a blog.
Knucklehead. There's another one, Grant at GT Cards with a Z, tweeted out. Seller admits to wanting to make money off of shipping on a $1 card.
I don't know what to say. I'm just here laughing my ass off right now. This is by far the most interesting response I received when asking if a seller will update shipping to eBay standard envelope. I was waiting his response to pay just a 99-cent card. So it looks like 99 cents. Sure. 2019 Panini Contenders Tyler Lockett Championship Ticket Foil 11 of 99. Seahawks Tyler Lockett. In response, no. Oh, sorry. No, I'm going to try and make money on the shipping since I didn't make any on the card. I'm going to pay soon so I can send the carrier pigeon your way. Okay.
What an ass. Come on.
First of all, if you want to mail PWE and whatnot and have your standard pricing, that's fine. But there's also nothing wrong with someone who bids on something for 99 cents to ask them, hey, if you have a stamp and if you have one of the envelopes that's acceptable, can you please send it this way? And
I mean,
they have no, they're not held to that. They don't have to send it that way.
not everyone
But to respond
has
this
access
way,
to that program.
Yeah, to respond to it this way, that's not the right way to handle that.
No, I mean, if you're going to try to make, hey, if that's your thing, then just do it. Don't announce it. You know?
Right.
Come on.
No, unfortunately, I'm not participating in this program. At this time, we do not have any plans to announce our acceptance of this program.
Oh, good times. And the crap you see on eBay, if you have any fun ones, hit us up. And you can use the hashtag I use all the time, hashtag the shit you see on eBay or on Facebook. Share funny stuff because we all like to laugh at knuckleheads and happenings in the hobby. So there was a massive hit in Topps Luminaries. JCR Sports Cards at Cards JCR tweeted out a buddy pulled the 30-player auto booklet coined on the checklist as the greatest book card. It includes Mariano Rivera,
Here.
Frank Robinson,
We've
Cal
got-
Ripken.
It looks like Ronald
Ripken,
Acuna
yeah.
Jr. That looks
Alonso.
like Alonso.
I have the list
Looks
if you want
like-
me to read it.
I'm going in order with the video.
Okay.
Bench, it looks like, who's that?
Miguel Cabrera, you need to
Is
learn
that
how
Biggie?
to read.
Roger Clemens. There is Chris Sale, maybe?
No,
Chris Sale on the
DeGrom?
list?
No.
DeGrom,
DeGrom.
okay. Griffey Jr., who previously mentioned, Bryce Harper, okay. Ricky Henderson, great signature. Derek Jeter, don't know why they put those two together. Randy Johnson, Chipper Jones. You've got Aaron Judge and is that Greg Maddox?
That is correct.
That is-
Continuing along, you got Pedro Martinez and Mark McGuire.
Mhm.
Continuing even further,
Big
is that
Poppy.
Poppy and Mike Piazza?
That is correct.
Sure. Next up, you got Albert Pujols in a Dodgers jersey,
that
and is that Cal Ripken?
is Cal Ripken.
Okay, moving forward, Mariano Rivera, Frank Robinson. Continuing on further, Alex Rodriguez and Omar Vizquel.
No, not
Really?
Vizquel. No,
Who is that?
who hasn't been mentioned. Is that Tatis Sosa?
No.
No,
Soto?
I do see a Cubby
I-
logo now.
So it'd be Sandberg, Ryan Sandberg.
Sandberg.
Okay.
Yep. That would.
That fits the naming. Andre Dawson, it looks like,
No, he's not on the
It-
checklist.
That's Soto.
or is that Sosa? Sammy Sosa.
That's
Yep.
it looks
Yeah.
like
Then
Sosa.
Juan Soto. Moving further along,
Tatis Jr. and
Tatis
Trout.
and Mikey, Yastrzemski and
Ichiro.
Ichiro, and a $300 box NBA hoops.
So sweet mother of hobby.
How heavy
Lords,
is
I mean-
that in the box? Like, it's gotta be obvious when you pull this box out that it's gonna have something special in it.
Well, yeah, and I would presume that Luminaries. How many cards per pack is that? Do you know?
I forget, was that just one per
I
pack or
think it was
something like
just
that?
one. That's why I was like,
So you got to think that when you open that pack, it's got to be like this.
Yeah, because because it's got the front one that does not have autos on it.
Yep.
So it's got 16 cards attached in total because you've got 30 autos, 2 per. So you got 15 auto cards and then the cover. So that's
but yeah,
that's
you have to know.
Yeah, 16 panes.
that's
when-
incredible.
Yeah.
How do you display something like that? That is just what an incredible
I mean,
card.
How flimsy is that holding it together? I mean,
Yeah, I've got booklet
there's
cards in
nothing
my
to protect that.
yeah, booklet cards in my collection. That's just, I mean, that really should have come in the package with some type of a holder that was prefabbed
Mhm.
for it. But how do you prefab something that long? I mean, that'd be huge.
Huge.
Well,
Okay.
so, and then you know, if you were to send that off so 1 card per pack, 1 pack per box, 12 boxes per case. So yeah, that was in a single pack by itself. That's ridiculous.
You would know. It's
Um,
just too thick.
Yeah,
Snake.
Your hands would have to start shaking as you open that box and realize this is something a
Heavier.
little, you know,
Right.
the old Sesame Street theory, right? That, you know, which one of these don't belong. That's not your.
I mean, the people who
Mhm.
buy this probably buy multiple of these boxes. At some point, you have
Cases.
to like just feel the box and know there's something
different
up here.
Or yeah, and what I was going to get to was, you know, heaven forbid this guy sends this off to get graded by somebody and comes back with like a 30-panel long book that, you know, the cards are right at the bottom. Because we've seen some of those where they frame a booklet down at the bottom and there's huge space, magazine-sized space that they put it in.
You know what this reminds me of? If you watch The Office, when Jim pranks Dwight
Yeah.
with his security badge, and it's just a little
That's
thing,
true.
and it's got all of this. Anyway, people out there that listen to or watch The Office know exactly. So we do have, before we get to our shout outs and close out the show tonight, we do have one final topic.
Pop your popcorn.
Pop your popcorn. PWCC versus eBay. We did get a little bit into this with Dr. Jim Beckett already. There are 2 separate releases. We have what eBay initially had dropped, and then we have the retort from PWCC. They're out there. They're circulating. If you want to do a quick internet search on, you know, Google, eBay, or Facebook, Twitter, you'll be able to find what they said. You want to read them,
Sure.
Steph, or?
I can read through them real quick.
Okay.
So from eBay, as one, and there were some disputes on whether this had actually got released or because nobody seemingly got it. However, as of now, PWCC's eBay listings are down, so take that for what you will. From eBay, as one of the world's largest marketplaces, eBay has policies in place to protect their buyers and sellers, allegedly. eBay was founded on trust. And we work every day to ensure a fair and positive experience for the everyday eBay community. Recently, it was determined that individuals associated with a trading card seller, PWCC, have engaged in shill bidding, which is prohibited on eBay and several other platforms. As a result, eBay has restricted PWCC selling privileges and its listings. Sorry, a little blurry on the picture. Effective today, eBay's policies and standards were designed to ensure a trusted marketplace where a community can interact with confidence. If we determine that a buyer or seller is not acting in good faith, eBay takes this seriously and takes action. Our customer service team will work directly with anyone who has a question about a recent PWCC transaction with the link here. eBay is the destination for buying and selling trading cards, built over 25 years with our passionate community of collectors and sellers as partners on that journey. Trust is the cornerstone of eBay, which is why we felt it was important to share this information with our community. We assure you that eBay will continue to take actions to deliver on our commitment. And a little bit later, PWCC, the first trading card investment.
That's not the same one.
Isn't
There's a different. No, that's not the retort. The other one was talking about how upset they were
Slightly
with the
longer.
decision.
Okay, I'll try to dig it up before. we
Yeah,
wrap.
no, that tweet is in the show notes if you want
Is
to link on
I'll
that
pull
one.
that.
Yeah.
We at PWCC believe trading cards are positioned for considerable growth. We want to ensure that we have all the information and tools needed to make smart investment decisions. Decided to announce our investing advisement program. Just provide us with contact information below, a little bit blah blah blah, investing, empowering, blah blah blah. Sounds like they're trying to launch their own thing. Second tweet here from Not Ivan. PWCC Marketplace says it's shocked to have its eBay practice business suspended for show bidding. PWCC was shocked to see eBay's email today stating that unidentified individuals associated with PWCC engaged in show bidding. To PWCC's knowledge, its employees have never engaged in any behavior that violates eBay's agreements and policies. PWCC goes to great lengths to ensure that its employees follow eBay's rules, and PWCC employees do not have access to eBay bidding records or information. It's funny that they mentioned this. If you know anything about hobby history, PWCC is considering all available legal options in response to eBay's defamatory press release and its bad faith action to restrict PWCC's privileges on eBay. PWCC has only just learned that these allegations, and eBay has refused to share any details supporting its allegations. Despite eBay's unwillingness to explain its claims, PWCC will continue to conduct its own internal review to ensure that employees have not violated eBay's rules. PWCC is proud of the work it has done over the years to improve eBay's own processes and to ensure that the platform is one that users can trust. These efforts went well beyond the measures that eBay takes to ensure legitimate auction processes. For example, PWCC worked tirelessly with eBay for over, and it's cut off, I want to say 10 years, to remove the bid retraction option for buyers, eliminate forced return policies for sellers, and reduce the significantly not as described SNAD window from 30 days to 3, which it recently did. So, some interesting tidbits here. One, wasn't it kind of talked about, thrown around that some of these companies would have employees that would either, accidentally bid from their account, not realizing that it was their own employee's account, until the policy was put in place where their employees were not allowed to bid on auctions listed by the company. How is that not in writing the first day that they start at the company? Whatever. But it really seems like eBay said, oh, you want to leave? You want to start your own program to compete with us? Cool. Well, by the way, on your way out, take your baggage, take your clothes, and get out. And here's your baggage, by the way. We caught you. We busted you. We played ball. You wanted to take it and leave? Take it. And PWCC, of course, shoots back saying that, well, no, but we helped them in times of need, and we supported them, and we built it up better than anybody ever did. And we never, ever had any sort of wrongdoings that we know of, and we'll continue to investigate any wrongdoings that anybody claims. Okay, sure. Now, I'm not saying that this is the case, but as I had mentioned regarding something related to this topic, when you start to see a lot of smoke, usually there's some fire. Sometimes maybe it's just small somebody didn't forgot how to cook chicken, and sometimes it's what could start a massive forest fire in California. And I'm just saying, there's 2 C's in PWCC.
Let's put it this way. PWCC is not suing anybody. So stop. If you're going to sue eBay, you sue them. And then we hear about it completely different. You have your lawyers immediately file this and that. And I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know. Yeah, cease and desist. And you'd file. You're not going to go and announce it and say, oh, we're going to sue you. We're looking into all. No, just you're going to sue them. And that's the way it is. Second off, if you were in fact shilling, and we don't know, we don't have all of the facts. We're not here to accuse anybody. You're innocent until proven guilty. The burden of proof is on eBay. And if there is a lawsuit,
to share it later afterwards. But sometimes it's almost like showbidders don't directly come out and say, "Hey, I won this. Can I have it back because I showbidded it against myself?"
Yeah,
it wasn't going for high enough.
If you're guilty of it, and we don't know, a lot of it's innuendo and rumor and assumptions, and if there's enough writing on the wall, we can draw a line between it. Like Steph says, the smoke, there's got to be a fire somewhere. If there's enough smoke, it's like, hey, listen, got caught. We all know what it is, and of course you're going to work with eBay to reduce the from 30 to 3 days. Why wouldn't you? It's your benefit if you are in fact guilty of shill bidding. You want less days for the consumer to say, hey, wait a minute, there's some shenanigans going on here. So anyway, do your own research. It's a fascinating story. I'm sure we'll be talking about it again in the future as more develops. It literally hit my timeline when I was tagged in it. Big Poppy 34, Andrew had alerted me yesterday morning, tagged me, and my timeline blew up. And in the meantime,
I'm sure there'll be lawyers involved, and I'd be staying posted to like Paul Lesko and a few of the others that are well known on Twitter.
Yeah, we'll get Paul on the show. We want to do it anyway to talk about some other antitrust situations and just in the abstract. But yeah, if this develops more, if it's not just a pissing match between the two of them, Dr. James had said earlier in the show that maybe it blows over and PWCC goes this way and eBay goes that way. And maybe that's all it is. Maybe it's all, I got my feelings hurt, so I'm going to go on, I never really loved you anyway, post on Facebook. And I got my feelings hurt and I'm crying, but I'm not really that upset. Hey, whatever.
I'm just impressed because eBay generally doesn't put this much effort into like emailing everyone about certain things. Like they just they just magically go away.
Right. They usually don't have press releases like this.
Forefront on, we don't like them anymore.
No, and one last thought before we get to the shout outs. PWCC has emailed ourselves as well as other podcasters that we're aware of and has basically invited themselves on.
Conveniently right before the show, right before the news broke.
They would like to come on to our show. We personally have not responded to them yet, but we know other podcasts have, and their responses, we'd like to come on. We will give you questions to ask us, and we will answer that. You're not allowed to alter the questions without our approval, and if you do so, then we won't go on your show. And it's like, listen, hey, you can save that bullshit for some other show that wants to deal with you. You want to come on here, we're going to ask our questions. And all other podcasters, if you happen to listen to this, you do the same. PWCC wants to come out here. Don't use my platform, Steph's platform, the next guy's platform, the next lady's platform. You don't get to use our platform for your bull crap. Issue a press release and call it a day. You're not going to do a press release.
That's essentially what it is.
Yeah, you're not gonna,
at that point.
I'm not going to, we've had other people on our show that haven't said, hey, can you ask me certain questions? Or, we've extended the offer to certain people like Chris Carlin of Upper Deck and Brian Gray of Leaf. Is there anything exciting
that we can't?
Yeah, anything we can't ask that might be a legal issue, or is there anything you want to talk about? Is there something coming up in your world that the hobby might want to know about?
And usually it's questions that we already have typed up anyway, or something that's related to something that we already had planned. So
seriously, you want to come on our show and give us a list of questions. We don't take sponsors, so we don't have to do that crap for a reason. You save that shit for some other show or a paper press release that you want to issue and have your lawyers draw up with all of their legalese and their fancy lawyer speak.
Right
You
up
come
our
on here,
back,
we're going to ask you questions.
FAQ page.
Yeah, you come back at us and say, well, we're going to ask these questions. Cool. Delete the email, move on. We don't have time for you. We don't need that nonsense. So anyway,
We're not the
PWCC,
podcast for you.
yeah, in your face. So other show bidders out there, you're on high alert that you might be next, and I am sure that we all know those names. At least one other big name.
Starts with a P, ends with an N.
So a couple of
Could be any name. Not pointing any fingers.
yeah, a couple of other quick shout outs. One is a somber one. We mentioned last week that Tim with Signature for Soldiers, mom was ill. Unfortunately, she has passed away this week. So prayers and thoughts. Please again respect his privacy at this time, and reach out as you feel needed. But we definitely want to pass along our best and our condolences on behalf of not just About the Cards, but all of our listeners. Should Tim be out there listening, or if this message ends up making its way across his desk, we definitely can sympathize with your loss, and everybody is out there if you need anything.
Right.
Some good news that wasn't on the notes. Oh, go ahead, Steph. Sorry.
To that as well, while we're on the somber notes, before we wrap to something slightly nicer, Literal Work is having a bad go at it with everything that's going on right now. I know that she rushed to the ER last night. Tobo had to kill a break. So, we wish both of them the best. Don't worry about the break, dude. You can get it done when you can. Her health and your health is more important.
Absolutely. And
speaking of rebound, such to the point that we can meet in person. Yeah, maybe 2023, 2024, 2028. We'd like to catch a Twins game with you guys or something.
So a bit of good news real quick. Herman Bryant, 3B collection, had not one, but two grandkids born over the weekend. So congratulations to mom and dad of the kids. Congratulations to you, Grandpa. That's awesome news. Hopefully a couple of new hobbyists that'll start collecting in the next 7-8 years. Hopefully they're not Braves collectors. Yeah, no Braves. Let's have one Met, one Philly. Let's just.
I could send them their first Kent Herbeck cards.
Yeah, let's do this,
Good
man.
teething objects.
So congrats to the Bryant family and his children. And then one last note, we'd like to thank the iconic Dr. Jim Beckett for his time this evening. It was an honor. Talk about amazing opportunity for the 8-year-old inside of me, inside of us, growing up reading through the Beckett price guide. We will definitely have to get him on again soon and maybe sit down with he and Rich Klein and do a history of the hobby at their leisure and availability. So, Steph, Ange, any final thoughts before we wrap up for the night?
She needs to rip this.
I need a date and a time and a method.
So as those two argue who's going to rip what, why don't you rip
No,
A and
he's
G,
not
Steph?
touching this. This is mine.
She can touch the Diamond Kings.
She can't reach.
We'll do the Hell in
I
the
would
Cell
need to get
afterward.
the steps going.
So remember, we're live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific
10 Central.
on the good old YouTube. Make sure to subscribe and review our show on all platforms. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at About the Cards.
Ideally, but
Follow Steph at the Junk Wax Twins. Angela, where can we find you?
At another __ castle, otherwise known as Junk Wax Life.
You can follow me at Our Trading Cards. And of course, Sports Card Insights is available on the podcast. I believe they're probably on all of them. You can definitely listen on Spotify as I do. That's Dr. Jim. He has about 600 episodes to listen to. All of them are under 15 minutes, 5 days a week.
Something or another.
Yeah, there's a lot on there. Maybe not every episode's for you, but definitely check out the ones with he and Rich Klein. Those are fantastic. He has a lot of interviews, a lot of back and forth options, a lot of
All three
different
of us
styles.
Four
Yeah.
of us have been on.
Yeah,
And it will be linked down below for you guys to find it.
Incredible honor to have him on, and to again 164 of these. We definitely appreciate it. Please share your hobby stories, great pulls, and send your questions our way. And of course, keep collecting.
Have a great night.